All right, so we had confirmation on this picture by two articles or two places that are showing the same photograph. This one is saying 1862, but this one I believe says 1860. And that's the other thing. You're going to find out these dates are all questionable and they're just filling in dates. Because if they really started dating these, then you guys would really see what was going on. And I've tried to show that in my other videos in the other towns that I've done, especially with Salida, Canyon City. And this is a learning process, and I'm trying the best I can to explain this, but I want to go from Adam to Armageddon in just a flash, and that's just not going to work because you guys have to you have to be taught to see what history is presenting itself. So let's go through these pictures. If you go to my drive, you can go into Central City and it'll cover everything that I had. All Central City is all the photographs and everything. And then Sunborn maps are another thing to look at. And that's what I'm also trying to tell you too, is our history with architectural and building by this. So you're telling me in 1883 they had all the plumbing down for the town, and we're talking, these are pretty good sized water pipes, 5.5 inch, 5.5 inch, 5.5 inch. That's a good sized water pipe. And so what do we got on this one? 5.5 inch. So that's what really is important. And then you can look through the buildings and stuff where they actually talk about like buildings go out of business or whatever. They'll say that they're closed. I've covered these in some of my other videos, so it's important to watch all the videos. Like I said, there's so much information to cover, and I'm trying to put it together so that way you guys can understand it and see it. And so far, a lot of people haven't really woken up to this, but I have found all the evidence to prove it. And so let's go through some photographs. Okay, so here we go. The first original picture that I brought up to point and prove my theory on this. And then this picture is another one. This one I believe is a little bit earlier. Um, and the reason being is, well, first one, they're building a church here. But if you go back up here and look, and this is what I'm trying to help you understand, look at all of these yards with fencing all around them. How long do you think that would take you to do? And then not only that, build one building at a time. They're basically saying in 1874 this all caught up and went up in flames. But I'm going to show you where it didn't, and we've been here longer. So you need to start matching buildings with time and showing that. And I'll point out, this building right here is this building right here, and it's behind the church right there or whatever it is. I'll have to look it up. And so let's have a identifying marker. So now the next one we do is we go back into one of these earlier pictures and see if we can try to place one of these other buildings with it. Okay, so this picture right here is the second one that I found. It's close enough date, and the reason I can point this one out is we go in here, you can see that the church hasn't been built, but if you come down in here, this building right here, you can match it up right there. So those two buildings right there, they tie these two photographs together so that way you can actually go back more on history on this one to show the absolute craziness of this. And then once again, I want to point out there's no hardly any trees whatsoever. And then when you kind of figure out what they did is they went through and they went through and tore this whole mountain up like with mining. I mean, there's tailings all over. This whole city is setting on tailings, basically, is what it is. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this is huge money shot right here because this proves everything that they've been here way longer. And so I want you to look, tree growth again, hardly anything whatsoever. And we'll keep going back in time on these photographs till I get to the 1960. But you have to think about all of the building that has been transpired, and then this will get burned down. All of this will be replaced with a new street, Main Street, which you could see some of the buildings in here. But you can still see the old wooden buildings still there, and some of them have been torn down and replaced already with brick. But you remember they went through and said that there was a fire that burned all this down, and then after that, everything had to be built with brick or stone. And so, one of the things I want to tell you in 1874, when all this is happening, Colorado is going through one of the major. I mean, it's on fire with everything that's going on because let's just take a look at this. When you get into Colorado in 1870 is when they get the train into Denver, and then from there it branches out. We got Blackhawk, Central City up here, and that's what we're covering in this video to show you guys the. Yeah, there's no way they could have built this in the time frame, and then with all the history of the photographs, you can see time elapse, and we're talking basically 20 to 30 years is what we're covering, and you can see a lot more time has passed. And then not only that, everything is being built in Colorado all at once. Canyon City, Pueblo, Colorado Springs, Walsenburg, Trinidad, all these mountain towns for mining and everything else are all being built at the same time. And you have migrants coming in from all over the world. And we went through that last time, but let's take another look at that because history and what you guys are seeing, you have to put the pieces together and know that they've done this before. So let's take a look at that. See, it's really important to read history and understand what they're trying to tell you. And when you can see through the bull crap, you will understand. So Pueblo, let's go into that. Pueblo, Italy's, and we're in the close proximity of Bonjon town, Slovenia, and neighborhoods. The east side, which was home to a sizable Jewish community, and Smelter, which had many Mexican American residents. More than 40 languages were spoken at the mill alone, and over 2 dozen foreign language newspapers were printed in Pueblo. The city claimed Irish, German, Japanese, African American, Greek, Hungarians, Lithuanians, Russians among its residents, and the convergence of culture that led Pueblo to become one of the most diverse cities in Colorado and in the West. The legacy of this is evident in Pueblo's culture. Okay, so now that you've gotten an idea of what chaos was coming into the United States, and I wanted to show you that out of Pueblo, they had to bribe people from all over the world to come work at it, and you could see the chaos that would have been inscribed with all the different languages. And then this is very important too. These talk about how some of these people came together and built the steel mill and then did all the merging and bankruptcies and everything. Like I said, it's been a war on America. You just have to open your eyes and see what you're looking for. Okay, so I covered it in this one, and you could see you need a marker in time in order to put this one out there. And so the marker in time that I have is this house right here. Let's draw it out. So this house right here, you can see it right there. And so now we have a point in time where I can go back earlier on these photographs now. Well, let's go through that. Okay, so I found an earlier picture, and you can look down in here. This is Central City, Colorado, and you can see that the tree growth, and you can see the mountain. What I'm talking about looks almost like they haven't went through and excavated it in order to do mining. And like I said, the whole city was built on tailings when you figure this out. So let's find another building to mark because here we are with this one. It's right here. And so I'm going to find an older picture and we're going to tie it into this picture. And then too, you have to really study these photographs to really see what's being built. And this building right here is being built. It's not in this photograph. And then you can mark the buildings with where they're at. And so that you can see that this is still Central City. And now we've gone back into where you can start placing this in time with these buildings. And so let's go into this one. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to show you too is if you look right here on this bottom one, you can see where they built these two buildings right here. And then somebody built a cabin right behind it and they had to dig all this out in order to get it. And this is what they did. The earlier miners did this stuff was where they built log cabins like this because that was the only thing really available because you would have had to move wood up through the canyon, and that would have been on horseback, or not horseback, but on wagons, which I showed you that's pretty impossible to do. And so let's continue on. All right, so here you can tie these buildings in together, and you can see this building right here, and I'll draw it out. This building right here is right there. And so you can see quite a bit of time has passed on these. And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Basically, in 1860 is when this was supposed to be taken, but I could tell you it's way earlier because they came in and they had to build all these cities without the railroad, or build this city without the railroad until they got the railroad. So they were using whatever materials they had available at the time, and then until they got the train where they could actually ship in block, um, and start building with stone and brick, then you weren't doing anything until then. And then too, look at the tree growth is all back, and that's what I meant to tell you is they went through it and they excavated all of this. They went through it, and this was just mine, all of it. So it's pretty wild when you understand that and realize how long we've actually been here. So let's take another look at some more pictures. And you could see even between these two, the massive building that went on and the trees, how they disappeared up here. And so what I'm also trying to show you is that they went through and used whatever was means necessary, but they didn't use any of these trees. So that means they were probably shipping it up or moving it from somewhere else. But then I'm going to show you pictures where it's really barren in Central City, which is weird because you look at it now and it's just full tree growth. So that's where the theory of global warming is, yeah, I'm gonna put that down right now because there's no way. And then so how long have we been here when you think about this? When they came in and they had to build this, just even from these two pictures, I mean, you could see how much it's changed, and buildings are gone and new ones have came up. All right, so let's take a look at these pictures and show you. And if you look up here, there's hardly any tree growth on this one, and you can see where the road splits off and then goes down in here. And then later, if you look at this picture, you can see the church. Then you could see how much more forests came over, and then how much more they excavated out of this hill. So when I tell you they excavated, they really went to town on this place, and they went searching for gold and they found it. Here's another picture, and this one leads out. And then look at all the tree growth. Now I don't know where you're at in time in this, but I can still tell you it's pretty early because the tree growth hasn't gotten over this hump yet, and I'll show you that in one of these pictures too. You could see in this one where the tree growth has came back. So I don't know. This one you can see by the cars is 1940, 1950. So like I said, when you think about that, how barren and dry it was, and then all of a sudden we have all these trees and everything else. So follow me, and hopefully you can get the truth out because this needs to be shared. I'll keep making videos on this. Tomorrow I'll finish up with some more of Central City. But for tonight, that's good enough for this.